Hey everyone, how you doing today? Thought I'd show you an update on the Scarab-HG1 miner. So these are the versions I showed on the last video. So that was the first version, had some power issues. The second version corrected those power issues. But I thought I was going to be done with it at this point in time, and then I wanted to make it better. So I was questioning whether or not it should have a warp drive in it, and also I did not like the reverse thrust on here either, and the fact that it was running 3 individual 1x3 generators consuming 6,000 CPU on the build. So a lot of people said once you put in a fusion reactor, it'd be 4,000 CPU instead of 6, and it would create more power yet. And I was like, well, you know, that's a really good idea. So anyway, I was thinking of all these things, and I was like, well, you know what? I kind of want to significantly modify this before I paint it and get it ready. So meet the next version. The next version is I reconfigured this whole miner pretty much. I kept the front end, but everything else was pretty much redone on it, including the storage and the interior and the whole ball of wax. So this version is running bigger reverse plasma thrusters now, and like this one had 4 lift thrusters, but ion. This one's running 2 lift thrusters, but plasma. Basically, all the thrusters on this one are plasma. Now, it does require 20 of the plasma converters for the build. Now, this version also has a fusion reactor in it. And because of the savings of CPU on the fusion reactor and more efficient rear thrust on here, plus getting rid of that second set of the other lift thrusters, I had more CPU available. So I was able to put in the full spread of 8 mining lasers, and then it also has 2 Gatling guns and even a minigun turret, and it fits into the CPU at, I'm missing a CPU block in here, but it should be at 19,500, so it fits in there just fine. A total build cost over here of 1 hour and 17 minutes. Now, of course, because I added that fusion reactor and I added in the reactor core, radiation shielding, superconductors, and heat exchangers to the build, beyond the 20 plasma converters, and I think that's about it for its complicated parts on here. Well, not complicated. You could buy all that stuff, I realized, too. That was also in comments. I have to visit a Polaris ground POI sales place, and I should be able to buy a lot of that stuff I need. Anyway, so I tested this thing out, and everything's cool power-wise. It works good. Also, another modification that was made too, these had 11K harvest storage. This one has 10K harvest storage. So that one problem I had in the last video, I was trying to fly up out of a high G planet, where I had to tilt the thing at 45 degrees, and you don't really have to do that anymore. With that extra 1K of less of harvest storage, it's not an issue at this point. And this so I test this thing out, and the problem I've got is I don't like the mining lasers. I didn't think this was going to be a case. They work fine, but they cause this weird choppy thing, and which actually overheats my video card. My video card fan, if I do this for like 30-40 seconds, my video card heats up and the fans are kicking on full blast and everything else. And I don't know what's going on with that, but I was like, man, I don't want that in gameplay if it's going to work like that. Because I definitely want to take this in and be using it for my active playthrough here as well. And so I was like, that's kind of crappy. So I was like, well, what do I do now? So let's go over to the final complete version now. So this one's 100% done, ready to bring in game, fully tested. And this one, obviously, I went back to mechanical drills instead of the laser drills. It's got 8 of them. It actually does really great in mining boreholes and things like that. Really good lighting on here, too. I did reduce that to 4 spotlights instead of 6 like I had on the original versions. But it does light up your mining path really well. And all the drills are also to the outer edges of this build. So maneuvering inside a mining tunnel works out pretty good. Now, something else that was done on this one too, from going from this version to the next version, is I shortened the length on it by a couple blocks. So it's not as long as the first version was, but it is 1 block taller. And that's how I could get those bigger thrusters in there. I moved the whole X pattern up a block, and it's not quite proportional, but it's hard to notice. It looks fairly centered, I guess, but that's how it worked out. The whole reason I was running these small thrusters in the first place is so I could fit them in between the block work here. And this one, with the reconfigured thrusters and everything, I just stuck these over there. Way better thrusters, and I think actually uses less CPU or less power, things like that. So anyway, back to this one. Because I went to mechanical drills, they also use less CPU. And I cut a lot of the weaponry off from this one, so it has a long-range radar now instead of a minigun turret and only one Gatling gun on it. The extra CPU savings with all this allowed me to do a feature I really, really wanted to do. And that is, it's got 4 industrial multi-turrets or multi-tools on here to do salvaging. So it does that too. So really happy about that. So now it can salvage and mine in 4G with a long-range radar and a lot of utility function on the inside as well. So really, really happy with its configuration and layout. Let me show you the insides here in a minute. One other thing, I went back to the ramp. But I rigged it differently, and I think this was also in comments, is the ramp is now tied to the landing gear. So when you park this, it opens the door, opens the ramp, turns on the light. And that's how it works. So you can be any distance away, and that ramp does not retract or anything like that if you're landing. Now, where I ran into issues with the ramp is on this build here. I was using this in gameplay for a while, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when I walk up here, the ramp would just like close and stop me from moving forward, and then I couldn't get in the door, and that was really annoying me. So that's why I got rid of the ramp on the SM1 and just did this little jumping platform instead. But I thought I'd try it again on this build to see how it worked out tied to the landing gear instead. So on the inside, it does have a passenger seat, a constructor, 10K harvest instead of the 11K. Again, that helps significantly with the high gravity planet not overfilling it or filling it, so you got to do that 45-degree exit planet thing brought up in the previous video. You have O2, armor locker, trauma station. It's got a box over here and a smaller box right there, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, of course, like all these versions had a lot more room around the cockpit, so you don't get tripped up if you're parked at an angle, or hopefully that doesn't happen. If it still happens, I really have no idea what else to do about it. That's just, I give up. Other than that, okay, one last thing. The last one had a plasma, I'm sorry, not, a fusion reactor in it, right, which increased the build costs. This one, I started thinking about it, and obviously I got a slot for the fusion reactor in here, but I was curious if it had enough power with 2 generators to operate the mechanical drills and the industrial multi-tools. And you know what? It does, no problem at all. Don't need that 3rd generator. So, but putting a fusion reactor in here really had no purpose. It's the same CPU whether I run 2 of these or that, and these provide enough power. So, in the overall build cost, I was able to get rid of all those extra parts needed for the fusion reactor. So now, basically, the hardest things on here to get would be the 2, well, I wouldn't call them hard, but 2 advanced upgrade kits, communication equipment for the long-range radar, and then it's 20 plasma converters. And that is pretty much it. Final specs on its motion, 114 forward, 114 lift, 114 reverse, 57 strafing, 32 down. Some of these numbers are insane on their secondary numbers, especially the pitch. If that's all the way up to 10, it's 180. So I thought it flew better dialing that down to about 0.6-ish range. But as in like using this thing, first, again, 2 1x3 generators in this version. If we do some mining, I've done a lot of testing with this thing already. Oh, I got them. Hold on. Let me get the right stuff out here. It mines really, really just fine in tunnels. Really good lighting setup as well. So you'll here I'll let's go to darkness, and let me me turn on the spotlights. So yeah, you can definitely see really easily inside of mining tunnels with the light configuration. With the 4 lights, you can spin it, you can turn around in a mining tunnel just fine and maneuver any which way, shape, form you want. No power problems whatsoever, not even close to it. And then the last test, of course, was how does the salvaging work with just 2 generators. So if I configure that, fly around here a little bit, no problem at all on those either. So I can fly around, do maneuvering. Now you can get it to about 90% power usage if you're doing 3-direction flight and hit it just right. But that's about top limits of it. So yeah, no problems at all with the power. So literally it just doesn't need the fusion reactor in this build. It won't make sense to put it in there because it's not going to save any CPU or anything like that. And that is pretty much the build. Can handle 4G, can do mining, salvaging. It can, and you still have the Gatling gun. You can still shoot bad guys in the area, the occasional drone or some ground troops that jump in your mining holes with you. They do that occasionally, by the way. And then you got the big radar on here. Final CPU on this is right here, so it's got about 180 leftover CPU. There's one part that it wasn't able to fit that I got the CPU for it, and if I do modify this anymore, it'll be trying to reconfigure it somehow to fit in a clone chamber. It's the only part I wanted to get in there that it doesn't currently have. It's only 100 CPU, can afford that with what's left over. It's just I can't fit it. It's like 2 by 2 by 3 in size, and oh gosh, I'm not real sure. I mean, this is super tight everywhere right now, and I don't really know where to put the clone chamber. I would have to dig into the wall or try to move everything else around to make up room for that. I don't really know if it's going to be necessary on this build. I mean, it would be kind of an extra little convenience thing, but again, I don't know if I really care about it very much to have that in there or not. I like to have them, especially on things that attack POIs. So like the SV, combat SV, and HV tanks, definitely like to have clone chambers on there, because often when you're done attacking a POI, you run inside, you know, guns blazing, and you could die, and then you can spawn back in at your combat creation. But this one's not really doing that, so I'm not so worried about it. Basically, I think I'm gonna be cool with it exactly how it is right now. Other than that, please let me know what you think of this, and if there's any other suggestions or anything else you think I'm missing or whatnot. But other than that, I think I finally have hopefully a solid miner salvager that also does 4G with a gun. Yeah, Core 7. So that's pretty much. This one is like version, I swear, like 4.5. Like I started with the first one, and then I went to the second one. Then I redesigned it again on the third one, and then fixed bugs with that, the fourth one, and then changed it around a little bit on the fourth one to with the power generation to go back to the generators again. Other than that, I will shut up, and you all have yourself a great day, and I will talk to you later.